So, I want to talk about a story within a story. We've learned the story structure, we've seen examples of story structures being used, and we've seen them pretty well. But for a story to be fully satisfying, we need to understand the story is actually two stories. All right, so there's a quote. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. This is a quote by Maya Angelou, poet and civil rights activist. And this is the one of the reasons why specifics in a story is so important. Why what happens in the because of that, the stakes. If we finish that too quickly, people aren't going to feel. They're not going to connect. Just like if we, the more specific imagery we have, the more we can imagine what happens in our mind. So in every story that we hear, there are really two stories that are taking place. This is very important. That's why some stories were more satisfying than others. There is the story in the world outside and the story in the world inside. And for future stories that you're going to write and you're going to make students write, keep in mind that we need to remember that for a story to work, there are two stories. The story outside brings about the growth of the character. And I want to emphasize here the word growth. If the character doesn't grow, the story is much less satisfying. It's more like the story and the events are happening to them. An example of the story of the elephant. An elephant just disappears. No one really did anything. So we're not really, tense. A few things didn't happen with the elephant, but we'll get to that in a minute. But for the stories that do have characters, the character needs to grow. There needs to be something that they do. And in the stories that we've heard, not everyone does something. Sometimes things happen to them, but we are most satisfied by what happens to the character. Now, in all of these stories, for the story to really work, what brings about the growth? The character must make a choice which is going to bring about the change which which is from who they were before and who they were after. Okay? If someone, for example, is really into eating their pizza, and then they're going to be eating pizza, but aware of the news, that's a difference. And this brings us back to what we talked about last week with the hero's journey and the story structure, if we all remember. I use this one more. But there's the ordinary world and the special world. When our character starts the story, and many of you did this, there is a mannerism in the inside story that doesn't exist. There's something which wasn't there before, which they gain during the story. And then when they come back and return to the ordinary world, just look at the top, there's the call to adventure. And then there is the because of that, from the known to the unknown. So in the beginning, we see that there's the call to adventure, and there is known. We have our regular mannerisms, a way of going around the world, whether it's thinking we're a failure, whether it's eating our pizza, whether it's not expecting the unexpected. And the key is if we take the person before their growth and put them in the situation, they would fail. They would not succeed. Something about the ordeal brings about their change. But this is the part which is important, is at some point, and because of that, there needs to be a choice made by the character. The character must make a choice. If they don't make a choice to do something, or something is done to them which they grow from, so I said the growth of the character, there won't be any difference. Now, generally, the growth comes and then a choice is made. And this is something which, if we're later going to talk about Sarit's story, like mom isn't here. You're like mother-in-law is not here, but a baby's coming. We have to go anyway. So a choice was made, but we need to hammer out that choice. So first, in our two stories, the inside world, the character must make a choice, and that choice brings about the growth of the character. Okay, so we're with me so far? And you can see now because we didn't know that we were looking for this, then we can't. Second. because we didn't know that we were looking for this, we weren't able to make sure that it happens in the story. But in almost every story, in fact, in every story, a choice is made by someone that brings about the change. Okay? So, first and foremost, for the inside story, the character is faced by a situation where they have to make a choice. Okay, so my question then to you all here is if we look at the different stories that we had, what are the choices that were being made? If we looked at um I'd say I'm just going to use two easier ones as an example. Okay, first for the more conventional one, what choice did Sarit make? Anybody?
Um,
To go, even though mother was not there.
So, but what choice did you make?
Basically,
Not to go by plan.
yeah.
Okay, so you made the choice to change your plan. Okay.
By the way, my mother-in-law was there eventually, and I waited for her. But yeah, that's the thing. That's the choice, the choice of
Beautiful.
understanding them.
Okay. Second story. I want to talk about the
why? But
ADHD choice.
wasn't a choice going to the instead of making a fuss in the hospital and getting more attention, going to the hospital to the bathroom to breathe? Wasn't that the choice?
Sorry, was that a choice?
Yeah, I guess. I guess
Okay, that could have been.
it's
So that's
it's
key.
uh
See,
it's how I dealt, with the situation at the
great,
time.
beautiful. So this is very important because this allows us and our character in the story to realize, oh, I have to find a choice somewhere in my story. Let me look through to see what I chose to do. If we look at David's story with the pizza situation, for example, maybe he chose to leave the bathroom to get out of the neighborhood. Maybe. I don't know. But the second we see there has to be a choice, there has to be a proactive step. If the hero was reactive to everything, and by the way, this is one of the issues with Little Red Riding Hood. She never makes a choice. If we look at who the hero of that story is, it might be the hunter. Maybe the hunter saw her on the path and decided to change his route. But this is a reactive story, and it doesn't have the same type. Like, yes, she
Why?
learns the
She chooses
lesson.
to go off the beaten path. She
She,
definitely makes a choice.
You're right. Okay, correct. She chooses to go off the beach. She chooses to make a mistake, which she then chooses not to do. So that's the character growth. Yeah, you're right. So I guess her choice was making the wrong step, which she does later. But throughout, she doesn't have a growth thing. It's like a lesson from the choice. So she did make a choice way earlier in the story.
Wait, the choice has to do with your takeaway?
Um, the choice generally has to do with, yeah, what you're going to be able to do afterwards. The
But what
choice, your
about
choice,
I'm thinking of the TED Talk we watched with the fireman and that he saved the
yeah,
shoes, this lady's shoes.
yeah.
So what's his choice? Like to do a deed of kindness, but it wasn't really about that. It was kind of a funny story.
Well, the fireman example, I don't want to bring it up here because not everybody saw the video, but for the story about a fireman who went in, his thing is about the smaller details making a difference. It's about a fireman who saved like a woman's shoes from a house, and she said she was very happy she didn't stand out there with cold feet. So even though her house was safe, that was the main point in that story. So there, his point was let's make small differences, and his story does support that. Making a small difference, is important. The compliment with the shoes. David, is your question about anything we spoke about so far? I give questions after the.
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to chime in about the choice thing, if it's
Okay.
okay. I just think that in many
Yeah.
ways is another way of saying what did you learn? Like, like growth is learning, right? I think that's, you know, I guess that's how I've seen this part of the story arc is, you've learned to do something differently, which is a sign of growth.
Exactly. Exactly. So when we're looking at the point of the mistake or not, all right, so getting back to our show, the story outside brings about the growth of the character. The choice that the character makes is either the mistake, like Little Red Riding Hood, or the choice is the one that gets them out of the mistake. But in either case, this is the thing which brings about the character moving from the special world where weird things happen back to a sense of normal, to back to a sense of regular existence. So when we're writing the story, we need to see that was it our bad choice? For example, we stopped watching our kid, or was a situation thrown onto us and then we made a choice different from what we would have that got us out of it? Because clearly, who we were in the ordinary world was not well equipped to deal with the special world, and who we are afterwards should be better equipped to do so. Okay, so that's first. Is that clear to everybody? Just give me like a thumbs up if we're good on this. Okay, excellent. So we can already see when going through our story how knowing that our character needs to make a choice, either a wrong choice in the beginning or a right choice later on, that brings about to them getting through this. And this is also where the character needs to be proactive. If everything happens around them, they're just observing, it's not as good a story. So that's number one. Number two is about the outside world. And in the outside world, we have three types of conflict that bring about the character growth. And this is where I also said, I think I told some people, a story, a hero is as good as their villain, as good as the challenge they're facing. If the challenge is a serious one, we are more nervous for them. But if it's a bad guy who can't seem to hit a target and seems to be a joke, then we're not as nervous for the hero. And if you think about movies or TV dramas, if it's, even though nobody dies, like someone who's able to result in someone's social death can be very, very scary. So let's talk about these three types of conflict. First of all, nature. What is nature? Can someone tell me what is a conflict which is created by nature?
An
Or
earthquake, a volcano,
NATO.
anything like that. Swimming in
Okay,
a
so
river, in the sea.
okay. Okay, earthquake, volcano. Okay, very good. Let's think of some others. What are some other
could be weather,
type weather? Okay,
dangerous,
good.
being
Natural disasters. Okay, we
Giving
accept
birth.
that. Um, okay, I like that. Birth, giving birth. Good. What else? Let's go with that direction. What else is
Being attacked by a bear in the woods.
bear? Very good. Bear in the woods. Lion. Excellent. Okay. What are some other things which we can put into to the birth category?
age, business,
Wait,
like
sorry,
things
sorry.
that
What did
happen.
you say before?
Aging. She said aging.
Aging.
Aging,
Aging. Very good. Aging is very good.
Sickness, maybe.
Sickness. That was I was looking for. Very
Allergic
good.
reaction,
Sickness. What?
an allergic reaction.
Good. Very good. Very good.
What about ADHD?
ADHD. ADHD. I think also.
Aliens?
Wait. What else?
Aliens?
Aliens. Okay. Aliens works. Now, where would aliens fall into this category? Would it be the top, middle, or bottom? If we had to give these categories, what would
Bottom,
we
I
call
would
them?
say.
Okay. The bottom. So
no,
so fine. So first of all, what would we call these? Okay. I don't know if I'll put Godzilla here, but like, what do we call these top ones?
Natural disaster.
Good. Natural disaster. Okay. What would we call these second one?
Um, like health to do with the human being, human nature.
Human body of
No.
sorts. Okay. And what would this type be?
Natural predators or threats.
Animals.
Animals.
Oh,
Yeah,
animals. Yeah,
animals.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, what makes nature nature? Okay. Um in this aspect. What makes something nature?
It's
We don't have
unpredictable.
control over it.
Tamara's right. Nature is nature, as in we have no control. Okay. Super powerful, you know, now it doesn't mean that we can't stop. Now again, that's sort of the difference because nature, when it comes to some things that we talked about, let's say aging, sickness, ADHD, there's something we can do about it. Bear and lion, there's also something we can do about it. So that we have no control is more, it's more of like doesn't respond to reason. All right. So it's something that like you can't reason with these things. Okay. So, because like, by the way, we have no control is possibly true to for some of the others as well. Okay. So very good. So nature is something which doesn't have to be bigger than us, though obviously an earthquake and Godzilla could be bigger than us, but it's something very powerful. Okay, so powerful that doesn't respond to reason. Okay, and you can take that whatever way it is. Even if it's a virus in our body, it's something that we can't reason with and just has to be dealt with as is, dealt with at face value. Okay, so that's number one. Let's move on to type of conflict number two, man. Okay, so what is man? Who are some examples of man conflicts?
That would be a villain, a person that
Let's
Internal
right
struggles
clearly.
versus real.
It wouldn't be internal struggles because that's self. But let's go with man. Let's get okay. The villain is obviously, but who could these villains be? Let's get
A
some job titles.
boss.
Boss, good boss.
our family,
Let's go. Let's break family into specifics.
father, mother,
Mother-in-law.
child, brother, sister.
Father-in-law, child, brother. Okay. Who else? Let's go other titles.
Like a step parent.
Step parent. Okay, fine. So the same, I'd say so. Family, father-in-law, child, brother. Okay. What else?
It could also be, could it be like a company who ruins the environment or something like that?
Okay, so good. So it could be company.
Could be government, evil dictator.
Okay. Government. Okay, evil dictator. Okay, so from these we see that there are a few things. Okay, and anything else come to mind for man?
Criminals.
Okay, so here, crime, gang. Okay, so what can we see here in these categories that I've put them into for man?
Different circles.
Different circles, right? So here, so first we'd say there's evil, there's, people. We can have family. We can have what are these?
Groups of people.
Groups of people. Very good. So we see here that now, by the way, when it comes to man, the different people here, as far as their motivations, they can have, evil. Okay, they can want to harm us, or what if they're family? If it's our brother, do they mean us harm?
No, but they can be very hard to
Most
deal with.
cases they.
Challenging.
All kinds of
Yeah.
dispute.
By the way, if we're the hero of our story and we, have a drinking problem and our family wants us to stop drinking, they're opposing us, but we're the hero. They could even want what's best for us, or they could think they want what's best for us, which is a source of conflict in many different movies. So for man, they can be those who want to harm us, and they have those who have opposing views. Okay? Now, if we're looking as opposed to nature that doesn't respond to reason, okay, how would we look at man in the same category? Man, okay, first of all, it can respond to reason. But what else? What is the difference between man and nature?
You can influence men. You can reason with and convince.
Exactly. So you can't respond. You can influence man. If a lion is trying to eat you, the best you can do is to tranquilize the lion. But with man, you can influence man and you can influence men in the plural. And this is why, if you have a government organization, for for everyone. If we have a evil boss or a father-in-law or a group, could be a family, could be the whole family, could be a giant, holiday meal. In these kind of cases, we can still see that we can impact them with our actions. It isn't, a zero-sum game. It's escape the earthquake or not. Maybe there are things that we can do along the way. Maybe if you hit one criminal, it's gonna, impact others and so on. Okay, so this is the difference between man. Now, let's talk about self. Okay, this is the final category, self. So, what are some challenges with self? What are some types of conflict within self?
Like self-esteem or
That's the
confidence.
present.
Very good. Self-confidence. What else?
Destructive behavior, maybe?
Okay. So we self-confidence, okay, lack of self-confidence. Let's get specific here, but destructive behavior. What
What
types of
about
destructive
mental
behavior?
disease? Would that be this? Would that be self?
Well, that depends if you can do something about it or not. Could also fall into nature if you're,
Control.
the personalities.
All
So
sorts
okay,
of addiction can
but
be.
let's get specific. Let's get specific and then zoom out, just like we did before. We picked a line.
Self-control.
Okay, so okay, what are some ways we lack self-control?
Addiction,
What are some? Okay, give me a type of addiction. Give me a look.
drug addiction,
Alcoholism,
gambling
drugs,
addiction.
Okay, alcoholism, gambling, very good. What else?
drugs.
Okay, fine, drugs. So we got that. What other types of self challenges can we have, which we again can respond to reason? So
If
it's
you
not
don't
like a
succeed, if you don't succeed to meet your expectations,
okay. Let's. What's a practical, applicable way, empirically measurable way that can
you
happen?
want to get accepted at a university and you don't.
Okay, so fail to get into grad school. Very good. That's a problem with yourself. Like, who do you have to blame for not getting into grad school? It could be people, it could be the dean board, but it could also be yourself. Okay, very good. So the failure to get grad
What
school,
about
you
like
say,
a romantic problem? Would that be self or someone else?
well, that depends. If so that by the way, in the story, which okay, romantic problem, would that fall into what? What would it fall into? It
Man,
could be man, and it could be
Self as
it
well.
could be self. So, what are some ways that we can fail at a romantic relationship or at a friendship, which can fall into self? Low grades is a way that we can, like, what are some other ways that our self is the conflict point?
jealousy,
Communication
No,
problems.
yeah,
or-
I want specific things. Jealousy is a sign of what?
If you love someone and you don't tell them,
Okay, low grades. Okay, not telling someone you love them. Okay, I'm saying I want, it's just like you said, father-in-law and lion.
mistreating
I want
someone.
actions.
Being
What?
scared to tell what you feel, what you think about something.
Okay, good. Not
Asking
Being
sharing
worried
feelings.
for what others think about you.
Okay, not sharing
Or asking
feelings.
someone on a date,
Okay, good. Not
maybe.
sharing feelings. That falls in the same as not sharing feelings. What else? What other things with self?
Not being able to dealing with your past, maybe.
Okay, good. Well, now how would that express itself? If I don't deal with my past, what does that mean? What does that show?
You could mistreat someone. You could be abusive in some way, verbally or
Okay, let's get specific, everyone. I'm trying to bring us to get specific here. Okay, this is like we naturally go vague and try to catch it all. If I say right now I have low grades, or if I have a gambling problem, it's different from saying I have an addiction or I have a self-esteem problem. There are a million ways to have self-esteem problems. But if I say I'm afraid to do another degree because I don't want to fail, I'm afraid to get an MA in education, I'm afraid to do a PhD in psychology because I only passed my master's with a 62, that hits differently in our mind. Let's learn to get specifics. What are some ways we can have problems with ourselves? What are things we have to overcome within ourselves? If you say
what about like
self-confidence,
Fears.
Elsa in
Fears.
Frozen, that she doesn't
Fears.
recognize her powers or her.
okay, so how would we explain that? Hiding superpowers because of what? What is she doing?
Fear, I guess fear.
The fear is the general. Let's get what is her fear? She's what? She's
She's
not showing
She
people
won't
afraid
she
be
has
that
powers.
people
accepted by
won't
others.
Fear of
accept her.
acceptance.
You won't be accepted by others.
Vulnerability.
Okay, so you're not showing people her powers. Okay, these are what do we do? That's my question. What do we do that is issues with ourselves. Okay, so here we have some examples, and I want us to go like low grades is a failure of myself. Could be for my failure itself is okay, I don't study, I don't sleep enough. Okay. Afraid to say I love you. Okay. Not sharing feelings. Okay. So I'd say probably more not. Asking out. Not showing people powers. Okay. So these are all things that come down to some, roots, some sholashim. Okay. So let's see. So here we see self, lack of self-control. Okay. What else? What else do we see here? What other lacks are there?
A lack of self-belief,
Lack of discipline,
Discipline, very good. What else?
confidence,
Confidence. What else?
motivation, maybe.
Motivation. What else?
honesty.
Is honesty like
Be
honesty
honest
of
with
what?
yourself to
Okay,
recognize.
so honest with self about failings or weaknesses. What else? These are the words that we said before. Okay, if I have low grades, do I also have just lack of knowledge? Could also be. Okay, so we see some good ones here. If I'm afraid to say I love you, what do I lack?
Confidence.
Confidence.
Okay.
Courage.
Courage. Okay, very good. So we can add courage. Okay, great. Okay, so we see here with all of these self ones, these are things we have to overcome within ourself. Okay, and we can see how different it is. And with self, as opposed to man, okay, can you respond to reason with yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Can we influence ourselves?
Yes.
Sure.
Kind
Okay,
of.
all of this is theoretically within our control. The second it's a mental state or a mental thing that we can't deal with, it's no longer self. It moves on to nature. Okay? So, okay, you can respond to reason and you can influence yourself. Okay? But it's going to take work. And that's where setting it up in the story makes the big difference. So before we jump into analyzing our stories again using these two different facets, I want to just ask: are there any questions on the three types of conflict? Are there any questions on the theory here? None? Great. Okay, so I want to jump back into the stories now. And I don't want us to take too long with this because I did say I try to have us finish on time. But I want us to go through and see the differences and see if we can identify them. So I'm going to ask everyone if you can all turn, unless it's noisy with you, turn your microphones on. I trust, because I like this to be an open conversation. Okay, that's to me is the most value of this part. Okay, so we'll go in the same type of order. And by the way, I want to say, Zev, I'm very glad that you told your story because it was the only story that I think really exemplifies a story without an obvious hero. So and I want to add one more thing about the elephant story before we continue with our feedback. And to whoever's just watching this video and not watching the other previous video, there's another video where we go over all these stories, and you should watch that one to make the most out of this section. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stop this video. I'll take another one, then people can watch them in segments. So that's it for the three types of conflict and the story within a story. And let's move on to the next part.